Welcome to the ARC Fitness More Than podcast, a space where we explore the challenges and the triumphs of overcoming addiction and thriving in recovery. ARC Fitness is a highly commended and unique recovery organisation that utilises the powerful benefits of physical activity, professional support and community to support people to reclaim their lives after addiction. Each episode features conversations with individuals who have lived experience of addiction, as well as experts in the field. And together we will share stories, insights and tips on what it takes to break the cycle of addiction and to find a path to healing, growth and potential. We believe that everyone deserves a chance at recovery, no matter what their background or their circumstances, and that we are more than the problems that we face. Let's get started.
Hi everyone and welcome to the third episode of the ARC Fitness More Than a podcast. My name is Mags Campbell and I will be your host for today's conversation. For those who don't know me, I am the operations manager here at ARC. I've been with ARC now for 3+ years and have witnessed firsthand the amazing work it does for those people impacted by substance use. I look after the ARC team and the day-to-day running here at ARC Fitness, and I'm also the Mindfulness Practitioner. And today on our podcast, we will be focusing on mindfulness and the mindful path to recovery. Over the coming months, we will be delivering episodes of the More Than a Podcast to act as a source of inspiration and motivation on your journey to recovery. We will provide information and education and demonstrate the hope that is necessary in recovery. The team here at ARC Fitness is exceptional, so we thought we would take a team-based approach to the podcast. Every episode will be hosted by one of ARC's team of experts, each one with a wealth of knowledge, experience and wisdom. Every episode will feature candid conversation with guests from a variety of backgrounds, as well as practical tips and insights on topics ranging from everything from managing triggers and cravings to building a support network and developing healthy habits. So whether you're just starting out on your recovery journey or have been in recovery for years, More Than a Podcast is a must listen for anyone looking to break the chains of addiction and reclaim their life. So join us and let's get started on your journey to a happy and healthier you. Joining me on the podcast today from the ARC Fitness team is the fabulous Sinead Carlin. Hi Sinead.
Hi Mags.
How are you doing?
Wee bit nervous.
Look at us getting to sit down with a cuppa and have a chat.
I know.
So Sinead, for those who don't know you, tell us a bit about you and your journey so far with ARC.
So I started with ARC in October 2021 for the 6-week recovery programme, as my relationship with alcohol had gotten out of control and my life was just basically a mess. I had tried recovery before but had relapsed, and this time I needed to make it work. So getting the opportunity to come on the programme was amazing, and I threw myself into it. And with the encouragement and expertise from all the staff and also the community, I am now 2 years sober and
Yay.
Thank you, and living my best life basically. And after spending some time volunteering with ARC, I've now got a role on the team and I'm really enjoying that, being able to give my wee bit back and help others along the way.
Mm-hmm. And for anybody that doesn't know, Sinead's the one that keeps us all in check, really. She keeps behind us all, keeping us all right when it comes to our paperwork, administration and everything else. So she keeps us all going on a daily basis. So
I do my best.
So as we mentioned, Sinead, in this episode of the podcast, we wanted to discuss mindfulness and the benefits we find in including it as a practice as part of the recovery programme. I think unless you've been living under a rock, you'll have heard about mindfulness and possibly even experienced it a wee bit. But we wanted to talk about exactly what it is and what the benefits are, and just your experience then as well, or the experience that we've had here. So I'm going to put you on the spot first and ask, I suppose when you were coming into the program at the very beginning and mindfulness was mentioned, when you didn't know what it was or what it looked like, what was your first thoughts around it?
Well, I had a vague notion of what it meant, and to me it was like a meditative thing, and I just felt, no, I don't know if that's going to be for me. I had tended to avoid that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So as it was part of the program, I thought, right, well, I'm going to have to give this a go. And I was surprised by the results as time went on. So it was actually quite valuable.
I think that's everybody's first instinct in it, though, wasn't it? Of what's this? Or if you know it, then great. Maybe people are looking forward to it, but if not, they're thinking, what's this going to be like and what do you expect and stuff?
There was definitely apprehension around it because it was so new to me, and you have preconceived notions of what it might entail. But really, it's not as difficult as you might imagine whenever you get into it.
To do. So for me, really, mindfulness is the practice of paying attention on purpose. A lot of us can wander through day to day. We're just surviving, we're getting through it, or we can go through on autopilot. So mindfulness is a practice where we're bringing in just really noticing the things around us. It really centres around 3 elements. That's building our awareness and noticing how we are, and like I said, the things that are around us. Also trying to stay as present as we possibly can. You'll know, and everybody experiences, where we're worried about maybe things in the future, we're going over stuff in the past. So mindfulness is about trying to keep us as present as possible. And then the third element would be trying to be as compassionate and non-judgmental as we can, as to ourselves and to others as we go through our day-to-day. In mindfulness, we really use 2 tools as an anchor to be able to do that, and that is our breath and our body. And as we incorporate it under the program here, we teach that then on a weekly basis of how to use those tools. I suppose for me, in my own personal experience, there was a time in my work and day-to-day where I was stressed, I was frustrated, annoyed. Patience was really, really low. I worked in fitness and had done for a long, long time. And I thought, we come in, we train our bodies a lot. Wouldn't it be great if you could train your mind at the same time? And what if you could do the both? What if you could do a bit of exercises for your body and then some for your mind? So hence why I got into mindfulness and became an instructor of that. And it has massively, massively helped me in, as I said, building up that awareness, but also to deal with the stresses and strains that come about in day-to-day life. So when we talked about bringing it into the ARC program, we noticed that people coming in and stepping into recovery, life just doesn't suddenly, does it, Sinead, become all rosy? You know, everything isn't just automatically amazing.
Absolutely not. No, it takes a lot of work and perseverance to get your way through it.
Yeah. And so when people were stepping in, they're still having to learn then how to cope with the day-to-day stresses and strains of everyday life. But they're doing that sober, they're doing that in recovery. So we want to give tools so that people can cope with that. We also find a lot of people speaking about they'd lost that connection with themselves, and they'd lost just the knowing themselves. Who am I without the substance then? And that's where the mindfulness came in as part of the program, given that space to allow individuals to be able to explore that really. So that's my experience of it and how it became part of the program and everything. But we're not just going to take my word for it. I think it's brilliant. I could talk about it all day. But Sinead, can you tell us your experience of mindfulness and how you found it when you were coming on, you were doing the program?
The the first session was really alien to me because I wasn't sure what to expect. I wasn't sure how to behave with it. I found it really challenging to lie still and to sit still. So it was nice that there was still a wee bit of movement, as you say, incorporating a wee bit of movement for the body. But learning how to kind of still my mind was really difficult. So the first session was tough. I didn't know where to have myself. But as the sessions progressed, they got a lot easier, and I kind of got the point of what it was about was to just kind of take a wee moment of time out where you're in a safe environment and that you can just have that wee hour where it's just about you and just learning to slow down a wee bit and do a wee bit of breathing just to try and calm the mind, which was something that I found really difficult because of overthinking or what's going to happen next or whatever else. So just learning how to even just take that wee bit of time out was really valuable as time went on. But it was tough to start with, but it got a lot easier as you started to get the point of what it was about.
I think definitely I would see that in every group that comes through. People that just find it tough to sit still. I think in recovery, a lot of people adapt that coping skill of keep busy, keep going, keep moving, keep busy. And there's a lot of anxiety that comes then in recovery as well. You know, there's a lot of, as you said, overthinking, worrying, feeling overwhelmed and everything else. Like, what do you do now? So as Sinead said, we would always say to everybody coming into the group, you know, at the first time, as you said, it might be alien, just give it a go wait. But taking that time to just be able to, mindfulness isn't a magic pill where you just go, you know, it's going to stop your thoughts completely. What we're trying to do in a mindful practice is build awareness of ourselves, but also just to slow down that thinking, to be able to, I suppose, regulate ourselves, self-regulate, to notice that we're getting stressed, to notice that anxiety is starting to build. I would always say a lot to people, we can feel anxiety in our body. Would you feel it in anywhere particular, Sinead?
Absolutely, I definitely in my stomach and my chest, and maybe the shoulders would start feeling tense, but I definitely around the chest and the stomach, the breathing kind of gets harder and
short and fast and everything. And then when we experience that, so our body's kind of giving us a wee alert system here, anxiety's coming in, and what we do normally is go, aye, I'll be grand. And we just keep going and we keep going. So it is about then exploring that with people, you know, what if we paid attention to that? What if we started to notice that and actually then started to take deeper breaths, started to let ourselves settle, and instead of being fearful of anxiety, starting to notice it as a wee alert system. I'm not okay. Something's not right. I'm stressed or I'm getting overwhelmed, and starting to be able to do something. So you should, as it went on, Sinead, it got a wee bit easier then.
Definitely did, and it was something then that I was looking forward to and to going to, because it was that wee bit of time out. So if you've had a busy day or a stressful day, it was nice, just something that you could go and spend that hour of just kind of de-stressing, basically. And it was like a wee mini reset to bring you back to thinking a lot calmer, to be able to face the rest of whatever you had going on.
Refocus a wee bit, as you say. And then, so as people step into recovery, we often see that, as we've said, that life still goes on. The usual stresses and strains of life are still there. And now you're in recovery, you've got to cope with them. So can you tell us a wee bit about types of maybe stress or strain that you would have faced in them early days of recovery, and how mindfulness might have helped, how you started incorporating it then?
Well, cravings would have been a big issue in early recovery, and they can kind of come out of nowhere just when you think you might be doing all right or something stressful happens and you automatically your mind tries to go to that thing that you used to use to cope with stress, which would have been alcohol or substance or whatever, but that's not available to you now. So how do you have to try and navigate that craving or navigate that new way of behaving? So being able to take that wee time out, if you can spot that, right, this is happening, so how am I going to deal with it? And just taking that wee bit of time out to either breathe your way through it, or even what I found was eventually learning how to say it. Just say, look, I'm having a bad time here at this particular moment. And I just need a wee bit of help to help me get past that moment.
And I think what you said there was really important, Sinead. The cravings can come out of nowhere. And often when we're working with people in recovery, we see then if you track it back, it has come because of pressure, strains, all that kind of thing. So the more you're starting to learn to notice, the more you're building that awareness of yourself, the more you can kind of notice the thoughts that are coming in and everything then.
Absolutely, aye.
And you said one of the tools that we use on there, go and say it.
What I would have said to somebody would be to channel your inner Mags.
People go away and they hear me in their head then. But we use that spot. Stop.
I always get it mixed up. You say it.
Spot, stop, swap.
Aye, that one.
So we would always encourage everybody to spot that you're having them craving thoughts, spot that you're getting stressed, spot that you're feeling overwhelmed, just noticing, trying to stop there and then, right, let me take a wee minute and just stop. At that point you can breathe, take a wee minute to just pause, and we'll speak about this a wee bit more. It's the greatest gift you can give yourself, to just stop in that minute. Stop that there and then try and swap it out. Swap it out for a conversation, as you said, Sinead, with somebody. Swap it out for getting up and moving, going for a walk, doing something different or whatever. But swapping it out for a positive thought or outcome. What would be the best outcome in this situation if we could? But trying to instill that and put it on then as a coping mechanism. But I think the biggest thing is noticing, isn't
Absolutely, yeah. Noticing when it's happening, because sometimes it's hard when you're in the moment to take that wee step back. So if you can, then get to the point doing that. Right, I'm not feeling well here at this point. Do you know what I mean? That's, if you can use that wee moment, then just to, as you say, to notice that something has to change. Rather than you ending up going down the same path that you might have before in terms of overthinking it or, allowing yourself then to get more stressed, that there's a way that you can bring that back.
Aye. And one of the other things that we would say as well is just, if you had an easy way to start, because I know people will be maybe listening and thinking, God, how do you even start to notice? And just taking that wee time to check in with yourself in the day can be very powerful. In the class when we're doing it, I would always ask everybody, do you drink tea and coffee? Most people do, or they're filling up a water bottle or whatever. Just taking that minute in the day to stop when you're doing that. When the kettle's boiling, when you're waiting for your coffee to pour or whatever, that you just stop it and do a wee check. And am I all right? If I had a score between 1 and 10 on levels of stress the day, or how I'm feeling, 1 being not great, 10 being really good, where would you be? And starting to build up the noticing like that. So how do you feel then you've carried using the mindfulness as a practice within your day-to-day, Sinead, as you've moved on in your recovery then?
So I would be the big thing for me would be that I would doing a lot more self-care. Mm-hmm. So self-care would be important for me now, that on a daily basis that I incorporate some form of it somewhere, whether it's even just having a wee read of a book or my latest hobby, taking up a bit of crochet, just something that it's a wee bit of time for me, a wee bit of, so that I can just just relax and de-stress, or just a wee bit of time out. On a weekly basis, I would use yoga as part of my self-care. And my new favourite thing is a sound bath. So
Amazing.
I'm going to one tonight, actually. So I've tried to do that once a month. Just something that's for me.
And
that I can take that wee bit of time out for myself, and it's like a wee mini reset, as I say, for setting me up for what's coming ahead, whatever it may be.
Whatever. And I think self-care is so important. And when we're talking about mindfulness, we did say that one of the areas on there is compassion. And as you know, in the campaign this year that we are running, the More Than That campaign, we're encouraging people to see beyond the individual struggles and really see the person. It's really important that we encourage everybody to see that people are more than the problems and more than their struggles. And in mindfulness, we talk about rebuilding that connection with yourself, as we've already said, that might have broken down, and bringing that compassion back. And it's a big part of it. Just trying to be kinder to yourselves, and self-care is a big part of that. How did you find the introduction of compassion, Sinead, for when you started the mindfulness and that? Was that tough? Was it helpful?
It was really tough. It was helpful, but it was really tough to begin with, because I found it hard to look at myself with any kind of compassion, considering how I treated my family, my friends, how my life had become a disaster. And because I had felt my own sense of shame and guilt around my behaviour. So learning how to kind of navigate that was tough to start with. But with the help of that wee bit of mindfulness and this amazing staff here at ARC, just, if you hear enough times that you're amazing, you do, it does start to tend to creep in, and you start believing it about yourself. And that can lead then for you to see yourself differently when other people are seeing a different you.
Definitely. And I think that's one of our things that we always stand by in ARC, isn't it? Overall, empowering people, empowering them to thrive. And the compassion element, I think, is really important when it comes to the mindfulness. And it's great that we can put it on there as people go through the programme. I think it's worth taking the time, Sinead, to shout out over the 2 years the achievements that you've had, that's came as you've started to thrive, and as that self-care has built, and that confidence in yourself, everything from a triathlon and more.
Well, I mean, I would always say that even over the last 2 years of being sober, I've done more and them crammed more life into them 2 years than I had in the previous 10. I did do a tri, which was amazing crack. I've taken up a bit of drumming. Who knew that I loved drums? I've got myself back into education. I've rebuilt a lot of the relationships with family and friends. I've even managed to get myself a wee car, which would have been unthinkable. And I am just really enjoying where I'm at in life now, and that's a lot of hard work and effort on my own part, but largely down to the support and compassion that I received here at ARC and within the community, which has just helped me immensely.
And I think it is tough, as you mentioned at the beginning, with all that regret, and the past is there when you step into recovery and everything. And so building that compassion can be a step-by-step thing that goes along. When we're talking about compassion in the mindfulness sessions, we will always ask, and this is something everybody can do that's listening there, is I would ask everybody to have a think about the 3 most important people that are in their life right now at the minute. So if everybody takes a minute and they have a wee think, And then it can be more than 3 if you want to, but the three most important people. And then what I will always ask is, are you one of those 3? Are you up there in importance in your own life? Now, our tendency is that we put everybody else before ourselves. But as Sinead was saying there, self-care, especially in recovery, it has to come first. You have to be up there, at least in the top 3 in your own life, because if you're not okay and you can't have that compassion for yourself, then how do you support and care for those loved ones that you put in the top 3 as well? So it's about realising that it's not selfish. It's a necessity. We can't pour from an empty cup or anything as well. We need to be able to look after ourselves, support ourselves, so therefore we can give her the best version of ourselves to the loved ones and people in our life.
I remember you doing that, and it was like I wouldn't have been in the top 3. You were, as you say, you do put other people, or you just don't think of yourself in that way. So that was a learning curve for me, doing that. You know what, I do need to kind of think about myself here and look after myself. So, but it was, as I say, some of the concepts were alien to start with. But as time went on, they get easier.
And they do take a bit of time. It's not something, it is a practice, mindfulness as a practice. So it takes that wee bit of time to build it up and get used to it. And I feel, we can sometimes think of mindfulness in that we have to be sitting down and almost like that meditation that you were thinking of at the beginning. And you can do exercises like that. But for me, mindfulness is very much about changing that mindset and being aware and noticing as you go throughout the day. You mentioned other things you do, Sinead, like the crocheting and stuff like that. And sometimes you can just be so focused on that can be very mindful and therapeutic as well. So you can be mindful when you're up walking, when you're running, when you're doing different things. It doesn't always have to be that sitting down practice. And so when we're trying to build it, it is just about a wee bit at a time as you go, especially when it's them concepts like compassion and everything as it comes in.
I suppose the same conversations that you have in your head and just being a wee bit kinder to yourself.
Yes.
The conversations that are going on in your head anyway, just about being that wee bit nicer to yourself whenever they're happening.
We always say in there in the mindfulness, another tool that we would use is if I wouldn't say this to somebody else, like if I sat now and said the things that I say to myself, to Sinead, if I wouldn't say that to somebody else, why am I saying it to myself? We can be our own biggest critic and our own worst nightmare, really. So it is about just beginning to be that wee bit kinder. Why wouldn't we be our own biggest supporter? And our own biggest cheerleader? But as Sinead is saying, that needs to be learnt sometimes.
It definitely is a skill that we practice. You just have to keep. I'm still practicing, but
kind words to yourself as much as we can. And has this continued, that compassion? Then is that continued and grown, Sinead, as you've moved through your recovery? Then
absolutely, because of it, the more you practice, or the more you kind of get on with things and get a wee bit further into your recovery, the more confidence you gain in yourself, and your own ability to be able to cope with life. Life throws curveballs all the time, and so it's definitely a skill worth practicing.
One of the other things I was going to mention, I think when we're talking about compassion, we can very much think of self-care and, taking time, which is great. But the other thing that comes with compassion and building that skill, I think, is learning boundaries as well. Would you say it's really important, Sinead, as you especially in recovery? We can be great people pleasers, can't we?
Absolutely.
And afraid to say no sometimes. And so as part of the compassion element that we do in the mindfulness, it is building that awareness of yourself and noticing that it is compassionate to yourself. Do not be putting yourself in situations that's going to challenge you or build stress levels or anxiety or anything?
Well, it's important to be able to know what your limits are and assess situations before you get into them. To see am I going to be all right in that situation? And if I'm not going to be okay, then why am I going to put myself in that situation? And realising that, it's okay to say no, or it's okay to change the plan, to look after yourself and your own well-being. That should be paramount, really.
Aye, first and foremost. And I suppose, again, that's a skill, isn't it?
Absolutely,
aye. That maybe gets would you say it gets easier over time, Sinead, or it just takes that thinking about it as you go along in your recovery?
I think it does get easier over time. Like anything, if you practice it enough, you do get better at it. And you can, you do learn to know what your limits are and what you're prepared to do or not do, whatever the case may be.
What's going to challenge you more, or what you're okay and comfortable with,
and what you need to be safe.
I think another thing we would try and do in the mindfulness as you're breathing and taking that wee pause and time out and checking in is just what's challenging, what's making you feel anxious, that bit of reflection as well. Sometimes we don't often take the time to do that. If you look back through a couple of days or a week, what did I enjoy? What did I actually take time, and what boosted me up, what built my confidence, what made me laugh, what did I enjoy, and what didn't I? What caused me anxiety and what caused me stress, and everything can kind of be a really good tool in getting to know, maybe I need to set a wee boundary for that, because if we're not, that's all part of that building awareness as well, would you think? That you can go, I didn't enjoy that. Or I felt a wee bit anxious when I was doing that, so maybe if I do it again, I won't stay as long or things like that. But it's important that reflecting back maybe a wee bit as well.
And looking back on what worked for you and what didn't. Absolutely.
Definitely. To be able to see and build that awareness as you get to know as well. So we're coming under that this time of year, which is pressured and everything as well. Sinead, Christmas and that.
Christmas.
How are you doing with the shopping? Have you got it all done?
No, never. I'm always lastminute.com.
So it'll be the next week dash then?
Next week dash, aye. It's worked for me so far, why change the habit of a lifetime?
That's that. If it's working for you, why not? So for anybody listening out there, as we head on the stresses and strains that this time of year comes, is there anything, do you think, that we can put out there that would just help anybody dealing with the pressures and things that are going on at this time of year?
Well, I think you just have to look out for yourself. If you find yourself in situations that are going to be challenging, then, have a wee think, do you really need to be in them situations? And if you do, how can you make them easier for yourself? Have you got a plan if you need to get out of there, and just to work on a wee bit of time for yourself?
I think we can always get caught up, can't we? We said it at the very beginning, caught up in that day to day, and we're just in the middle of it, and we're running and we're doing and we have to and this and that. So I think if we could mindfully take that wee minute to make a cup of tea, to sit down and drink it, to just breathe. So when we're talking about our breath, as we're going through this, just being able to slow things down. And actually, I would always get in the mindfulness people to count. So counting 4 as you breathe in, counting 4 as you breathe out, gives your mind that wee bit of distraction, and it allows you to just, I suppose, regulate a wee bit, slow down a wee bit, calm yourself a wee bit. Making lists, I'd always say at this time of year as well. But practicing the pause is a big thing that we would talk about in mindfulness. Responding to things rather than just reacting. Taking time to just breathe. As Sinead said, taking time to stop and go have a wee think about things and then respond. We can back to that people pleasing. We can always say, oh God, I need to go there and I need to. Do you need to? Just maybe challenging that a wee bit. Do you need to? Are you doing it for the other person? Are you doing it for yourself? Are you going to get something out of it? But just being able to check in with yourself, notice where you're at. I need to stop. I need to take a wee bit of time out. I need that wee bit of self-care in the midst of everything that's going on as well. I need to be able to talk, go a walk, connect with somebody, just to be able to breathe maybe at this time of year and mindfully just notice what you're enjoying as well, and more of that if you can.
Totally.
We can get caught up in all the craziness definitely of this time of year. So just being able to be aware, check in with yourself, try and stay as present as possibly you can. We can't control what's happening tomorrow or the next day or next week or anything else. We can only control the here and now and what's going on. And if that's just a wee bit of time out, then giving yourself that and not feeling bad or guilty or anything about it, and being nicer to yourself, being kind, being aware of the words you use to yourself and about yourself, can go a long way as well. Definitely. Anything else we would add in, Sinead?
I think that kind of covered it.
I know. You can imagine all us in ARC then all walking around, taking our deep breaths and everything in the day as we go along. But Sinead, it's been absolutely amazing having you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For coming and sharing your experience and everything else. Folks, on our page on the ARC website or the Facebook and Instagram page, there'll be more information, tips, help, all that kind of stuff. More podcasts coming along. But for now, we both wish you all a very Merry Christmas. If there is any struggle, strains over Christmas, please remember, reach out. Connect with somebody, take that time to have the conversation. Don't hold it in to yourself or anything, So if you are struggling, don't be putting yourself under pressure either. Do you feel like you have to attend this, that and the other? Look after yourself. Yeah. I suppose is the main thing that we want to say. Have an absolutely amazing Christmas. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you all soon. Thank you again, Sinead.
You're welcome. Happy Christmas, everybody.